Hey guys, your old pal Disclosure Artist here, and today I'm going to talk about AI and time travel. Um, this whole topic came up with myself when I was trying to get a overdraft fee reversed or retrocredited from the bank, and they told me that it was a button and that it was out of their hands, and I got in a whole conversation about who was in charge. Are we taking orders from machines, or are we not the ones telling them what to do when we take out a calculator and we punch in the numbers? Do they not follow our orders? It just is a very strange time that we're living in. And on that note, time travel is possible. There are multiple people who've come forward in the last 20 years, I'm just going to focus on, who lend a lot of credence to that. So I'm going to start with Captain Randy Kramer, who, outside of his time on Cosmic Disclosure, has actually been pushing this information for 10, 15 years prior, and I had no idea. But when I looked into it, some of his information is corroborating with another whistleblower, and I'm going to get to that in a second. Long story short, he refers to an organization, a branch of the military, who goes by the name of the Time Corps. They live in a bubble, essentially 50 years in the future, where they're monitoring our current timeline. And when they wake up in the morning and everything is bright and shiny and futuristic, they know that they did their job the day before. And if they look out that window and they see that the world is in ruins and it's an apocalyptic disaster, they know that something went wrong the day before. And I'm, of course, referring to these specialized groups that they send through time to participate in, shall I say, micro edits. But I'll get to that in a second. There's another guy. These are psychically trained assets who are sent back in time to make sure that things go according to plan. Another man, Andrew Bajago, has been speaking for many years, at least a decade, about Project Pegasus, teleportation and time travel technology, where they used Project Looking Glass and a chronovisor, which allows you to see non-local events, and has provided the government with, and of course special access projects, with quantum access, which allows them to make decisions based on information that is only limited to them. Another method of time travel that he mentioned was plasma confinement chamber, where you are put in a lucite box and half of the room is filled with plasma, and you essentially walk into that field and you are teleported through means of a vortal tunnel that opens up. There's another method that he mentioned called jump rope technology, where we send chrononauts, astronauts. Eventually, I think those words are going to be a hybrid word put into one, where you can go from Earth to Mars instantaneously. A great explanation of how Project Looking Glass works with regard to recreating what's inside of a human brain, the pineal gland, and the piezoelectric cells. If you want to have it very nicely broken down, look at David Wilcock. He seems to understand how the technology works. I know he's been studying it for a very long time. With regard to him, he had an insider who he couldn't speak about for years because they were still alive, and due to their recent passing, he's now come forward with this information that pertains to the Montauk Project. And this again pertains to Andrew Bajago. There's cross corroboration there. People in the gifted and talented class during Andrew Bajago's youth were fitted to a chair, and essentially they opened up portals. And according to the insider, who goes by the name of Daniel, that David Wilcock has been corresponding with for all these years, when these children are in this chair and these portals open, they send these reconnaissance spheres to different periods of time to gather video, audio, all types of different surveillance, so that when they send these teams back through time, they can seamlessly blend in with us. They know how we look, they know how we talk, and we would never know the difference if we met them on the street. And I'm convinced that in one of my previous videos, I mentioned that I had seen a portal open up in broad daylight in the sky, and I saw spheres come through. I didn't know what they were at the time, but this recent information, I think, is shining some light on that, and I'm convinced that that's what I saw, was one of these operations going down. And I remember I was zoned out, but not zoned out enough to not notice. And I'm going to be reaching out to people with regard, specifically David Wilcock, with regard to this information. As I've come to understand, this technology that's been available to them, the white hats, or the people with positive intention for humanity, have been using it to make, like I said, micro edits in our timeline to make sure that we have a good future, a positive future for our species, while the negative, nefarious individuals have been using it for their own personal contingency plans. So while they had the option to maybe correct things that would have a negative outcome, they didn't use the technology to do any of those things. Instead, they let them happen while privately creating contingency plans for themselves that would get them out of hot water while everyone else suffered. For example, they knew about 9/11 in the 1980s, but of course we all know that it still happened. And that's with the use of this technology. It's interesting that, people who have been trying to get this information out for a long time have been hearing about Project Bluebeam and how they're trying to do a soft disclosure and say that, all the UFOs we've ever seen are just time travelers, they're us from the future, when in reality they're actually ET craft that have been reverse engineered and a combination of a lot of different things, interdimensionals, our craft, etc. So I don't see how they could possibly do a Project Bluebeam, where they have a fake alien invasion and convince the world that we're being attacked by an outside threat, when the Pentagon has recently claimed that they have 7 ET craft. They publicly did that this summer. Disclosure has begun. And it appears that there's no response from the public, because there's been a 100-year smear campaign to give a giggle factor to the seriousness of this subject, and of course they release this information that they have 7 craft that are not of this world during absolute mass upheaval, while everybody's losing their mind and freaking out about the pandemic and the election and all kinds of things, distracting them from even paying attention to the fact that the government has openly said that they have alien spaceships. It blows my mind. 6 months ago, during the division and the silencing of the ufology community, I decided to come forward. I wasn't hearing anything from anyone else, and I had a story to tell, and I felt like doing my part. You could be a disclosure artist too. Who's going to be next? Elsa from Frozen is a disclosure artist. Literally, where they're talking about her freezing water and it having a memory, this is all science. There's literally a scene where she goes into a room or a cave, and the entire room is illuminated with memories of different non-local events, different times. And she's actually using the power of water to see images from different time periods. It's literally Project Looking Glass in Frozen 2. So like I said, it's all around us. You guys just read between the lines. You could do your part, and we could all come together and make a difference. All right, till next time, take care of each other and yourselves.